you can't find on
and it's 6:10 p.m.
Hey Mojoholics! For a chance to win cash prizes, play our live daily trivia challenges every day at 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern only at watchmojo.com/play.
Number 20, pagers.
With the press of a button,
I think I'd go for
revolutionized telecommunication back in the 1950s. They were convenient, they were practical, and best of all, they were the hit new thing.
An inexpensive way to keep in touch for important calls and
my
messages
god,
while
but
you're
we
away
don't
from
have
home
half a
office.
full house.
Years,
Oh wow.
A ton of worthy competition
Not
entered
full
the fray.
house.
By the turn of the 21st century, smartphones could do almost everything a pager could, but better.
We're gonna reinvent the phone.
They hung on for a few
now
more years due to their
we got
increased
Blue as
reliability.
the imposter.
Eventually, pagers
So
just couldn't keep
don't
up
get
with the
killed by
feature-rich cell
Blue.
phones. By 2021, most paging service providers had shuttered for good, leaving this communicator an obsolete relic of the past. Sounds pager friendly.
What do you mean?
I'm not getting a sig on my beeper.
Yeah.
Number 19, Kudos. It's hard to go wrong with a good old-fashioned granola bar, but the real kicker is that Kudos bars were all a part of a sugary, well-balanced
Green
breakfast.
got killed.
Kudos, I'm yours. While they definitely had more flavor than nutrition, that didn't stop them from becoming a staple breakfast food in the 80s and 90s. Still, over time, their name recognition started to dwindle, and in 2017, a comment on the company's Facebook page confirmed that Kudos bars were officially discontinued. Given the unceremonious nature of its goodbye, we aren't crossing our fingers for a relaunch anytime soon. But you gotta give it kudos for one thing, that theme song never gets old.
Oh my god, Red got killed.
Number 18, PB Crisps. Since their mascot is an actual
The upside
peanut, it's safe to say that
urinates.
Planters pretty much corners the market on all things
Sounds
nuts.
like
As if to
it's
prove it, They
urinating
entered the 90s by introducing a
something.
whole
Oh,
new
well.
way to enjoy their product. Enter PB Crisps, the so-called peanut butter with a crunch.
The center so sweet, peanut butter cream, oh, a treat.
The cream-filled cookies were a massive hit, at least for the people who tried them. Crisp disappeared.
Oh my god,
No
just
explanation
got
as to why.
killed.
That hasn't stopped people from talking about them, though.
PB Crisps and new chocolate, yes, chocolate crisps from Planters.
To this day, fans are still clamoring for a return
Where
of PB
was
Crisps. There's even a website for it and everything. Number 17, fax machines. This kind of tech is an increasingly breed. At the very least, the fax machine can be proud of its near-century-long reign as the de facto office communicator.
With Sharp's choice of fax machines, you can send documents in as little as 12 seconds to any place in the world you can phone.
But there's a lot of alternatives to compete with these days, primarily email and the internet, both of which are much less cumbersome than a modern-day telecopier. Looking at all of that, it's clear that the fall of the fax machine is more of a matter of when, not if. Sure, it still has its uses in certain fields, but compared to what else is on the market, fax machines feel like they're on their last print.
Have these guys ever heard of a damn fax machine?
Number 16, Delia's Catalog. Even by today's standards, having the latest and greatest fashion trends sent right to your door is a pretty compelling offer. In the 90s, it was practically a must-have. Delia's Catalog presented itself as more of a magazine than of a store, and that novel
Imposter disc.
Small to no competition in the teen market, Delia's was able to thrive.
But since the novelty of catalog orders wore off, the brand was left without anything to stand on. Later, when online shopping officially took over, Delia's once famous catalog quietly went out of print. The company's product is still around today, just without the paper version, or the brand recognition.
With crop tops, corsets,
I think I'll go
lingerie-inspired
for the
pieces, and
ocean.
micro mini-skirts, the Delia's
In
today
the
is a
fresh
far cry
rose
from the
lobby
tool-friendly
instead.
brand it started on.
Number 15,
fuck it-
PDAs.
Oh, we
For as
started.
cool as a personal digital assistant sounds, there's just no need for one anymore.
Idiot.
The personal digital assistant from Sharp.
Everything that made
I'll
it
go
unique
for
in
a
the
class.
80s is now commonplace
dead
in
and
basically any
Polish.
smart device on the market. Internet access, messaging, reminders,
I'll go
smartphones and
for
computers do all
the
of that, and
best
so much
lobby.
more. The steady decline of PDA sales reflects as much. Just ask Apple. Their entire company almost
Sorry,
went
my
under
jet
after
left.
banking hard on the Apple Newton.
Hey Duff, take a number on your Newton. Beat up Martin.
It also served as a cautionary tale for their competitors, most of whom have since abandoned their PDA lines. Fortunately, the tech
I
went to
think
good
I'll
use,
choose
and several of those
Airship
companies
instead.
began manufacturing cell phones instead. Number 14, Netscape Navigator.
Imposters and
This wasn't just a web
Cinder
browser.
tasks.
This was the web browser.
It seemed as if nothing could stop the driving force on the web browser marketplace that was Netscape.
Netscape Navigator's intuitive user interface helped popularize internet use, and the company was rewarded for that with incredible word of mouth. But every industry needs some healthy competition, and soon enough, Microsoft entered the ring with Internet Explorer. Accompanied by PC bundles and an unprecedented marketing blitz, the new browser utterly destroyed Netscape's rule. In fact, Microsoft's launch was so aggressive, the US Court of Law officially called it an illegal monopoly. But by then, the damage was already done. Netscape Navigator never earned back its audience and officially went off the grid in 2008.
Did you know you were still using Netscape Navigator?
Number 13, Orbitz. On paper, this infamous drink doesn't sound too bad. It was non-carbonated, relatively healthy, and even had several different fruit flavors.
Well,
First off, we have vanilla orange.
However, the real issue had nothing to do with the drink's taste. It was that Orbitz wasn't fully liquid. See, the entire pitch is that Orbitz are small, gelatinous orbs that dissolve in your mouth.
Everybody was picking it up, checking it out.
As you can imagine, people didn't like having to eat their drink. Orbitz were reviewed poorly and sold even worse. To put it into perspective, they only lasted a single measly year into production before going AWOL. These days, the only place to find an Orbitz is from a collector.
I really do wish Orbitz would come back, but knowing full well the capabilities of Clearly Canadian at the moment, it's not gonna happen.
Number 12, floppy disks. In 1996, there were an estimated 5 billion of these flimsy disks in use, and that's just counting the standard version.
Come on, guys! I thought you knew better. Don't call me that floppy.
And yet, by 2007, floppy disks were already collecting dust. The culprit behind their sharp decline in sales is primarily USB drives, memory cards, and then cloud storage. Floppy disks simply weren't made to keep up with the rapid influx in memory technology. If anything, they took up more space than they saved.
The manufacturing of the diskettes is over, and so all of the diskettes that will be made have been made.
Time to
The legacy
trap
isn't all doom
everyone.
and gloom, though. In order to make the transition easier on consumers,
And
several
some
computer
version
companies use the floppy disk
even
image as their save icon. So really, it's like they're still with us.
Everything was much easier when it was just floppy.
Number 11, 3G phones. The third generation of smartphones had a lot of winners. The iPhone 5, the Galaxy S9, and the Google Pixel 2, just to name a few. But, as with any growing industry, there will always be a day where one era powers off so another can click on. It's not like 3G devices got cancelled or anything. It's just that their framework needs to be upgraded to match the newest standards. After all, why bother keeping 3G around when 4G is technologically superior? Not to mention 5G. As a result of the industry's innovation, most third-generation phones will lose support by the end of 2024, and that's if they haven't already. Number 10, answering machines. It's not really fair to say that answering machines don't exist anymore. Rather, they just don't sell as well as they used to. Or really at all.
Lying. He's an idiot.
It's tragic because their cousin, the voicemail, is still a part of communication. The silver bullet answering machines is that they're specifically tied to a person's home landline. Since those are quickly becoming extinct, the answering machine is going down with them.
Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Leave a message at the beep.
Technically, you can still call any of them up and get the same voicemail-like message, but unless there's a major change in the market, answering machines are not long for the tech world.
Believe it or not, I'm not home.
Number 9, Kodak cameras. This Kodak moment ended in a camera flash. Even though they were the ones to develop the first self-contained digital camera, the company's higher-ups were extremely hesitant to shift their brand away from film rolls.
The most accurate, realistic color in print film is here.
That proved to be a fatal error, and by the time Kodak started playing catch-up, the digital market had already left them in the dust. Following a decade of rocky finances, the company officially filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2012.
Once great company files for bankruptcy, now they're trying to build with whatever you can.
Thankfully, there's a happy ending for Kodak. The brand emerged from their financial woes with a new focus on printing, supplying film, and later, pharmaceuticals. But the same can't be said for their camera production. Number 8, Walkman. Way back when, Sony built a product based on the idea of cassettes on the go, and the industry hasn't been the same since.
Sony introduces the only cassette player as small as a cassette case.
The Walkman proved to be so absurdly popular, it became ubiquitous with the
Results
very
are in.
concept of portable music.
Bye bye, goodbye, let me go forever, say goodbye.
It's to the point that the word revolutionary doesn't feel like it does the Walkman
So
justice.
sad.
While it was inevitably overtaken by the rise of
It's for you,
smartphones,
you
this
idiot.
portable player still lives on as an iconic piece of 20th century pop culture.
Sony introduces the
Savers.
only cassette player as
Now that's
as a
why I
cassette
call
case.
it twisted
Incredible
perfection.
sounding Super Walkman.
Sure, it ended production in 2010, but with over 200 million units made, odds are the
See
Walkman's
that
legacy
brown
won't be forgotten
fuck
anytime
the
soon.
door. Well,
Number 7.
better kill
Tab.
Brown.
Surprisingly enough, the Coca-Cola Company's first ever diet drink wasn't actually Diet Coke. It was Tab, a sugarless soda marketed to those who wanted to quote-unquote keep tabs on their weight. As one of the first beverages to tap into the diet market, Tab was an instant success. But it came under friendly fire when the Coca-Cola Company introduced Diet Coke in 1982. Just like that, Tab lost its only claim to fame. However, its passionate audience was enough to keep it around for almost another 40 years. But despite their efforts, the drink shipped its last case in 2020. Coke hasn't kept tabs on it since. Number 6. Phone booths. If you're looking on the side of busy roads, you're more likely to find a Wi-Fi hotspot than a phone booth. Quite frankly, the change has been a long time coming. Ever since smartphones became the communication standard, payphones have been left in a dire place. As you can imagine, it's even worse for phone booths. Every
Fighting.
single one in the United States has been torn up or converted, and that's getting off lucky compared to some other countries. I'm trying to make a call here. In Belgium,
Idiots.
Denmark, Norway, and more, you couldn't find a working phone booth even if you wanted to. At this rate, it'll only be a few years before phone booths stop ringing worldwide.
What were they used for?
Oh no, I am
Number 5.
injected.
Generally, a lot of cars in the
Five.
20th century. So much so that they can afford to sell their Pontiac brands as less of a vehicle
Bye.
and more of a lifestyle.
The 65 Pontiac GTO. It's the swingingest car.
In the late 50s specifically, this type of car was a status symbol, but as the years went on, it became a symbol that people cared less and less about. Pontiac had restructured before to great success, and they might have been able to do it again if not for the economic crash of 2008. Up against intense financial pressure, GM gave Pontiac one last lap before retiring it for good in 2010.
Yeah.
Pontiac, fuel for the soul.
And
Number 4, BlackBerry phones. Before Android
This
and iOS dominated the cell phone
dead
space,
body
there was a third contender in the
boring
market.
thing
Much of the mid to
again.
late 2000s, research motions BlackBerry was the most popular smartphone brand in the US, and it wasn't close.
Well, actually, there was 4, but Sony's Ericsson phones failed to put up much of a fight. BlackBerry, on the other hand, was a worthwhile rival during the 2000s.
What do you call it?
It's called a BlackBerry. Their name recognition was second to none, and they had the slick product to back it up, at least at first. Unfortunately, they couldn't evolve fast enough to match the ever-changing landscape.
Introducing the new
There's
BlackBerry
a guy
Classic
from
with more power and
Corn
control than ever before.
What does
As
that
Android
mean?
and iOS flourished into the 2010s,
That
BlackBerry
means
lost almost
no one gets
3/4 of its
ejected.
sales numbers.
Tie.
The last product came out in 2018.
Two
and
imposters
no one's heard
ran.
anything from them since. Number 3, VCR. They didn't call it appointment television for nothing.
Uriel, you're missing your favorite show.
For decades, if you wanted to watch something on TV, you had to be in the right place, at the right time, on the right channel. Then, out of nowhere, came the VCR. Suddenly, all it took was a handy VHS tape, and you could record anything on TV for future viewing.
Suppose it's over 3 hours. Relax. Panasonic VHS tapes up to 4 hours of sports, movies, specials on one cassette.
It completely changed the game, and immediately everybody wanted in on the profit. In came DVDs, which were easier, cheaper, and more reliable than VHS tapes. When that sank, the need for video cassette players went with it. The very last VCR manufacturer ceased production in 2016.
How do you like
Ever
that?
heard of a VCR?
When I
The music business is a tough place to stay relevant in. Case in point, Microsoft's epic failure in the Zune.
Don't tell me this is Zune bet.
But for every one of those, there was the iPod, a music player that just did everything right.
Everyone else here is huge.
We
Almost
want
a
it.
Christmas miracle.
And that couldn't stay afloat forever. The story's the same all around. They all failed to stay relevant.
And now at
Just as soon
level
as MP3
54
players reached their
and
stride, smartphones had developed a
wow,
the
what is
exact
that
same
many
thing.
beans
An
and
iPhone eclipsing
280 mini pods, bruh.
every MP3 player on the market. Nobody needed them anymore. And that's that.
Fellas, got my old iPod. We can rock out.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our
Hello.
channel and ring the bell to
I
get
don't
notified about
have
our latest
notification
videos.
to
You have the option to be